The massive screen in Earth's United Space Command showed thousands of alien faces laughing. Their mockery echoed through the Grand Hall, making Captain James Reed's jaw tighten. He stood straight, watching as humanity's greatest achievement became a joke to the Galactic Council. Seventh dimensional travel. The crystalline Emperor's voice boomed through the speakers. His crystalline form sparkled with colors of amusement. These humans barely understand six-dimensional space. They are like children playing with toys they don't understand. More laughter followed. Reed looked at Dr. Anna Wells, who stood beside him. Her face remained calm, but her hands were tight fists at her sides. She had spent 10 years developing the 7D drive, and now the entire galaxy was laughing at her work. The Council has reviewed Earth's application for advanced species status. The Emperor continued. We find these claims of seventh-dimensional technology to be. He paused, creating perfect crystals of ice in the air around him. Entertaining, but false. The application is denied. The transmission ended, leaving the hall in heavy silence. General Thompson stepped forward, his old face showing worry. They're not just laughing, Captain. Our trading partners are pulling out. 3 colonies have already lost their supply contracts. Reed walked to the window, looking at the experimental ship docked outside. The dimension breaker wasn't beautiful like the alien ships. It was rough, with odd angles and strange patterns covering its hull. But Reed knew its true power, even if the galaxy didn't. Dr. Wells, he called, tell me again why we're right, and they're wrong. Anna stepped forward, activating a simple hologram. The aliens mastered six-dimensional travel by following the same path for millions of years. They made their computers better, their math more complex. But they never looked at the problem differently. She pointed to their ship. We didn't try to be perfect. We watched how water moves through dimensions when it freezes, how quantum particles jump through space. We learned from the messy parts of nature. The general nodded slowly. And that's why the ship looks so strange. Exactly, Anna smiled. The patterns aren't for show. They're copied from frost patterns, from the way lightning branches, from how leaves grow. Nature already knows how to touch higher dimensions. We just had to learn its language. A young officer burst into the room. Sir, the Crystalline Empire has announced sanctions against Earth. They're saying our dimensional lies threaten galactic stability. Reed wasn't surprised. The aliens had always treated humans like slow students who needed strict teachers. Now humanity had jumped ahead in class, and the teachers were angry. How long until the ship is ready? Reed asked. 2 weeks, Anna answered. We found some strange readings in the drive tests, but they're not problems. They're patterns we didn't expect. The ship isn't just touching the 7th dimension, it's dancing with it. Reed looked at his crew gathered in the room. Engineer David Cooper was already checking systems on his tablet. Science officer Lisa Martinez was reviewing the test data. They weren't the biggest or strongest crew in the galaxy, but they were about to change everything. The aliens think we're children playing with toys, Reed said to them. But children see things differently. They find new ways to play. And sometimes, that's exactly what's needed. He straightened his uniform. Prepare the ship. When the Crystalline Empire comes to teach us a lesson, we'll show them that humanity has learned things they never imagined. As his crew moved to their stations, Reed watched the alien ships high above Earth. Their perfect geometric shapes shone like stars, beautiful and deadly. Soon they would learn that the universe wasn't about perfection. It was about adaptation, about seeing patterns in chaos, about dancing with dimensions that perfect crystals could never touch. The galaxy was laughing at humanity. But in 2 weeks, the laughter would stop, and the dance would begin. The dimension breaker hummed differently than other ships. Engineer David Cooper noticed it first as they prepared for the test flight. It wasn't the clean, sharp sound of alien engines. Instead, it was like listening to rain on leaves, or wind through a forest. All systems ready, Cooper said. his hands moving across the control panel. Though I'm not sure what ready means with this technology. Captain Reed sat in the command chair, watching the Earth grow smaller through the view screen. They were already past the moon, moving faster than any human ship before them. But that was just the start. "Dr. Wells," he called, "time to show us what this ship can really do." Anna stood at her station, surrounded by screens showing complex patterns that looked more like art than science. "Starting the 7D drive now. Everyone remember, what you're about to see isn't exactly real. Your mind will try to make sense of higher dimensions by turning them into shapes and colors you can understand." She pressed her hand to the main control, and the ship changed. The walls seemed to breathe. Colors appeared that had no names, flowing like water but moving in directions that shouldn't exist. Lisa Martinez, the science officer, gasped as her instruments showed impossible readings. "We're everywhere," she whispered. "And nowhere. The ship exists in multiple layers of space at once." Through the view screen, they saw normal space twist. Stars stretched into lines, then the lines folded into shapes, then the shapes turned inside out. It was beautiful and terrifying. "Look at this," Cooper called out, his voice filled with wonder. "The ship's power use is almost zero. It's like we're not pushing through space anymore. We're letting space move us." Anna nodded excitedly. "That's exactly it. The aliens force their way through dimensions. We're flowing with them, like a leaf on a stream." Suddenly, all the screens flashed red. Lisa's instruments screamed with alerts. Multiple ships approaching. Crystalline Empire design. 3 crystal ships appeared, their perfect geometric shapes shining against the strange space around them. Their weapons were powered, ready to stop what they saw as dangerous human experiments. "They're ordering us to power down," Lisa reported. "They say we're violating safety protocols." Reed stood from his chair. "Dr. Wells, what happens if they fire on us while the 7D drive is running?" "I don't know," Anna admitted. "But their weapons work in normal space. We're somewhere else." The crystal ships fired. Beams of energy cut through space toward the dimension breaker. But where they should have hit, they found nothing. The human ship existed in too many layers of reality at once. "They can't touch us," Cooper said in amazement. "It's like trying to attack a shadow with a stick." Reed watched the alien ships try again and again. Their perfect weapons were useless against human imperfection. Can they see what we're really doing? Can they understand? Anna checked her readings. No. Their sensors only work up to 6 dimensions. To them, we're like a ghost or a dream. They can see something's happening, but not what. The crystal ships moved closer, probably hoping to understand better. That was their mistake. The dimension breaker's field touched them, and their perfect shapes began to change. "Pull back," Reed ordered. "We're affecting their ships." They watched as the crystal ships retreated, their perfect geometry now slightly wrong in ways that hurt to look at. They touched something their perfection couldn't handle, and it had marked them. As the aliens fled, Lisa's console beeped. "Message from Earth. The Crystalline Empire is. They're demanding an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. They're calling us a threat to reality itself." Reed looked at his crew, seeing the same expression on every face, part fear, part pride, and part amazement at what they'd done. "Send a message back to Earth," he said quietly. "Tell them the test was successful. And tell them." He watched the retreating crystal ships, their perfect forms now permanently changed by touching human chaos. "Tell them the galaxy's about to change forever." Behind him, the ship hummed its strange song, dancing through dimensions that perfect crystals would never understand. Red lights flashed across Earth's defense stations as thousands of crystal ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They moved like a swarm of angry wasps, their perfect shapes catching sunlight and throwing rainbows across space. In the United Space Command Center, General Thompson stared at the tactical display. "How many?" "Over 3,000 ships, sir," an officer reported. The entire Crystalline Empire battle fleet. Captain Reed and his crew rushed into the command center. They had been preparing the dimension breaker for more tests, but war had arrived early. Through the main window, they could see the crystal ships approaching, their formations as perfect as mathematics. They're broadcasting a message, Lisa Martinez announced from her station. She put it on the main screen. The crystalline emperor appeared, his form sharp and angry. You were warned. Your dimensional experiments threaten the fabric of space itself. Surrender now, end this dangerous research, or we will end it for you. Dr. Anna Wells stepped forward, her face pale but determined. The dimension breaker isn't fully tested. If we take it into battle now. We don't have a choice, Reed interrupted. Look. On the tactical display, the crystal ships were launching fighters. Millions of them, each smaller than a car but deadly perfect. Earth's normal defenses were already firing, but their weapons splashed harmlessly off crystal shields. Get to the ship, General Thompson ordered. We'll buy you as much time as we can. The crew ran through underground tunnels as explosions shook the ground above. They'd reached the dimension breaker just as the first crystal fighters breached Earth's atmosphere. Power up everything, Reed ordered as they strapped in. Cooper, how's the drive? Humming like a dream, Cooper answered from engineering. Or a nightmare. I'm not sure which anymore. Through the view screen, they watched crystal fighters shooting down Earth's defensive satellites. Each explosion lit up the sky like a new star dying. Dr. Wells, Reed said quietly, we need something they've never seen before. Something impossible. Anna's hands flew across her controls. The 7D drive can do more than just move us. In testing, I saw patterns, ways to fold space that even I don't understand. Do it, Reed ordered. Whatever it is, do it now. The ship lifted off as crystal fighters turned toward them. Anna activated the drive, and reality bent. The dimension breaker didn't just vanish. It shattered, like a mirror breaking into 1,000 pieces. Each piece showed a different angle of space and time. The crystal fighters fired, but their perfect beams passed through empty air. We're everywhere at once, Lisa reported, her voice shaking, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The ship, it's learning, adapting, like it's alive. Cooper's laugh echoed from engineering. The power readings are crazy. It's like the ship is drinking energy straight from space itself. Reed watched as their fractured existence confused and terrified the crystal fighters. Some crashed into each other, their perfect formation broken by the impossible thing before them. Others fired wildly, their shots passing through the dimension breaker's quantum echoes. Take us up, Reed ordered. Show the fleet what they're really dealing with. The dimension breaker rose, its multiple existences merging and splitting like a dance. Crystal fighters fell away, their pilots unable to comprehend what they were seeing. As they reached space, the main crystal fleet waited. They're charging weapons, Lisa warned. Let them, Reed said. Dr. Wells, what happens if we get hit by their main guns while we're split across dimensions? Anna smiled, understanding. Their energy has to go somewhere, and we're connected to everywhere. The crystal fleet fired. A wall of perfect energy lanced toward Earth. The dimension breaker flew straight into it, and for a moment, space itself held its breath. The human ship absorbed the energy, its dimensional splits multiplying like fractals. Then it released that power back, not as a weapon, but as pure dimensional chaos. Crystal ships twisted, their perfect geometry corrupted by contact with higher dimensions they couldn't understand. Message from the fleet, Lisa called out. They're retreating. The crew watched as the mighty crystal fleet turned away, their ships changed forever by what they'd witnessed. But Reed knew this wasn't over. Send a message to Earth, he ordered. Tell them we won this battle. But the real war is just beginning. In the depths of the ship, the 7D drive hummed its strange song, ready for whatever came next. 3 days after the battle, Dr. Anna Wells stared at her screen with wide eyes. The dimension breaker floated in deep space, running tests while Earth rebuilt its defenses. But what Anna saw in the data changed everything. "Captain Reed," she called over the ship's comm. "You need to see this. Now." Reed arrived at the science lab to find Anna surrounded by floating holograms. The patterns looked like dancing smoke, but smoother, more alive. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "The truth," Anna answered. "During the battle, when we absorbed their weapon fire, the 7D drive didn't just move the energy somewhere else. It changed it, changed its basic nature. We're not just traveling through dimensions, we're rewriting the rules of reality itself." Cooper walked in, wiping engine grease from his hands. "That explains the weird readings I've been getting. The ship feels different since the battle. More aware." Lisa joined them, carrying new sensor data. "The crew's brainwave patterns have changed too. It's like our minds are adapting to seeing higher dimensions. We're evolving." Reed sat down, feeling the weight of this discovery. Can other species do this? The Crystalline Empire? No, Anna said firmly. Their technology is too perfect, too rigid. But human minds. She pointed to a brain scan. We're messy, flexible. Our consciousness naturally reaches for new patterns, new ways of thinking. We're built to adapt. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. Lisa rushed to her station. "Crystalline patrol ship detected. They're scanning us." "Perfect timing," Anna said with unusual excitement. "Captain, let me show you what else we can do." She pressed her hands to the control panel. The ship hummed, but differently than before. This time, reality didn't shatter. It folded. The dimension breaker didn't move, but space moved around it. On the view screen, the crystal ship fired. But their weapons didn't just miss. They curved away like light bending around a black hole. "How?" Reed asked, watching the impossible sight. "We're folding fundamental forces," Anna explained. "Gravity, electromagnetism, even the strong nuclear force. They're all connected in higher dimensions. By touching those dimensions, we can reshape them." Cooper whistled from his station. "The power usage is almost zero. It's like we're asking the universe nicely instead of forcing it." The crystal ship fired again. This time, Anna didn't dodge. Instead, she reached out with the ship's field and caught the energy beam. It hung in space like a frozen lightning bolt. "Watch this," she said softly. The energy beam twisted, folded, and transformed. Where deadly weapons fire had been, a shower of harmless light now fell through space, beautiful as a meteor shower. "Message from the crystal ship," Lisa reported, trying not to laugh. They're asking if we're gods." Reed shook his head. "Tell them no. We're just humans who learn to dance with the universe instead of trying to control it." The crystal ship fled, but not before their sensors recorded everything. Soon the whole galaxy would know what the dimension breaker could do. Later, in the mess hall, Reed found Anna still working on her data. "There's more, isn't there?" he asked. "Something you haven't told us." She nodded slowly. The dimensional barriers were crossing. "I don't think they're natural. They feel designed, like locks on a door, and we're the first key that's worked." "A door to what?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But in the higher dimensions, I'm seeing patterns. Messages, maybe. Someone built these barriers for a reason. And I think," she looked out at the stars, "I think they've been waiting for someone like us. Someone who could break the perfect patterns and find new ways through." Reed felt a chill. They hadn't just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. They'd stumbled onto something older and stranger than anyone had imagined. "Keep studying," he told her. "But be careful. Some doors are locked for a reason." In response, the ship's drive hummed its strange song, like it knew secrets it wasn't ready to share. The Crystalline Empire's home system was beautiful. 3 suns cast rainbow light through clouds of crystal dust, making space itself sparkle. But today, that beauty turned to terror as the dimension breaker appeared, in 12 places at once. Multiple dimension anchors holding steady, Cooper reported from engineering. We exist in all targeted locations simultaneously. Captain Reed watched through 12 different view screens as crystal ships scrambled to respond. The Empire's capital ships rose from their perfect geometric docks, their weapons charging. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Lisa said from her station. They're calling us demons, reality breakers. They're not wrong, Anna replied, her hands dancing across the controls. Since their discovery of the ship's true powers, she had changed. They all had. Their minds now saw patterns that normal humans couldn't understand. Reed stood from his command chair. Send our message. Lisa nodded and transmitted. Crystalline Empire, you laughed at humanity. You called us primitive. Now we offer you one chance to end this war. Stand down, or witness power you can't comprehend. The Emperor's response came instantly, a full barrage from every ship in their fleet. Now, Dr. Wells, Reed ordered. Anna smiled and activated their new weapon. The Dimension Breaker didn't fire back. Instead, it reached into higher dimensions and pulled. Reality rippled around them like waves in a pond. Every crystal ship's weapon fired at once, but the beams twisted impossibly. Some froze in space. Others turned to flowers of light. A few simply vanished, translated into dimensions the Empire couldn't see. Second phase, Reed commanded. The 12 versions of the Dimension Breaker began to move, but not through normal space. They danced through dimensions, leaving trails of impossible colors. Crystal ships tried to follow but couldn't match their movements. Their fleet is in chaos, Lisa reported with satisfaction. Their perfect formations are breaking down. Cooper's voice came from engineering. Captain, you need to see this. The ship, it's singing. He was right. The drive's usual hum had changed to something like music. As it moved through higher dimensions, it created harmonies that shouldn't exist. The barriers, Anna whispered. The ones we found. They're resonating with our ship's song. Like they recognize us. Through the view screens, they watched crystal ships start to crack. Not from weapons, but from exposure to dimensional harmonies they were never meant to hear. Their perfect geometry couldn't adapt to the chaos the human ship brought. Message from the Emperor, Lisa called out. They're begging us to stop. They say we're destroying the foundation of their civilization. Reed felt the weight of the moment. Dr. Wells, what exactly are we doing to them? Their ships, their technology, even their cities are built on perfect geometric patterns, she explained. Our dimensional interference is showing them that the universe isn't perfect. It's beautiful because it's messy, chaotic, adaptive, like us. The Emperor himself appeared on their main screen. His crystalline form showed cracks where higher dimensions had touched him. Please, he said, his voice no longer proud. We surrender. You've shown us something we never understood. The universe is larger than our perfect patterns. Reed nodded slowly. End dimensional interference, he ordered. But leave them change. They need to remember this lesson. As they withdrew their power, the crew watched the crystal city below. Its perfect shapes now showed subtle variations, places where reality had learned to bend instead of break. Captain, Anna said quietly, the dimensional barriers are responding more strongly now. Whatever intelligence designed them. I think this is what they wanted. Not just for us to break through, but to teach others to adapt. Reed looked at his crew, seeing how they'd evolved. Human minds touching higher dimensions, bringing change to a too-perfect universe. Send word to Earth, he ordered. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. The galaxy is about to enter a new age. Behind them, the drive sang its strange song to the universe, and somewhere in higher dimensions, ancient barriers continued to resonate with human chaos. The Dimension Breaker drifted at the edge of known space, its sensors reaching into dimensions that had never been touched before. After the surrender of the Crystalline Empire, other alien races had started sending messages to Earth. Some offered alliance, others begged for protection. But Anna Wells wasn't interested in politics anymore. She had found something far more important. "Captain," she called, her voice shaking with excitement. "I've decoded the patterns, the messages in the dimensional barriers. You need to see this." Reed hurried to the science lab. The walls were covered in holographic symbols that moved like living things. Cooper and Lisa were already there, their eyes wide with wonder. "What are we looking at?" Reed asked. "The truth about everything," Anna answered. She waved her hand, and the symbols formed into a clear pattern. "The universe isn't natural. It was built. The dimensional barriers aren't walls. They're filters." Lisa pointed to her sensor readings. "Look at this. Every advanced race we found follows the same path. They develop technology in perfect, logical steps. Their ships all use the same basic principles. It's like they're being guided," Cooper finished. "Pushed down the same path, over and over." Anna nodded. "Exactly. Some intelligence, far beyond anything we've met, created these barriers. They wanted species to develop in predictable ways. Perfect. Controlled. Like the crystalline empire. But we broke the pattern," Reed said, understanding dawning. "Because we were too primitive to see it in the first place. We didn't follow their path," Anna agreed. "Humans looked at ice forming on windows and saw dimensional patterns. We watched lightning strike and learned about energy flow. We built our technology based on nature's chaos, not mathematical perfection." Suddenly, all the ship's sensors lit up. Through the view screen, they watched space itself seem to ripple. "Something's responding to us," Lisa reported. "The barriers, they're changing." Anna's hands flew across her controls. "Not changing. Opening. Quick, everyone. Look at this." The holographic symbols shifted, forming into clear images. They showed the history of the universe, but not the one they knew. They saw ancient beings of pure energy, worried about the chaos of natural evolution. These beings had built the dimensional barriers, trying to make the universe develop according to their perfect plan. They wanted to control evolution itself. Anna whispered, "Make sure every race followed the same safe, predictable path." "But that's not how life works," Reed said firmly. "Life needs chaos to grow, to adapt, to become stronger." Cooper checked his readings. "The drive is resonating with these signals, like it's talking to them." "Not talking," Anna corrected. "Breaking them. Our human chaos, our imperfect understanding. It's exactly what the universe needed. We're not just breaking their barriers. We're setting reality free." Through the view screen, they watched in awe as waves of change spread across space. The dimensional barriers weren't falling. They were transforming, becoming bridges instead of walls. Messages coming in from everywhere. Lisa called out, "The crystalline empire, the Star Collective, every advanced race. They're all reporting the same thing. Their technology is evolving, changing, becoming something new. Because they can finally see the whole universe," Anna said softly. "Not just the parts those ancient beings wanted them to see." Reed watched the waves of change roll through space. "Will those ancient beings try to stop us?" "I don't think they exist anymore," Anna replied. "These barriers are millions of years old. They're just echoes of a civilization that tried to make the universe perfect and failed." As if in response, the Dimension Breaker's drive sang a new note. It wasn't the song of human chaos anymore, but something richer. The sound of freedom, of barriers becoming bridges, of perfection learning to dance with imperfection. "Send a message to Earth," Reed ordered. Tell them humanity's greatest weakness was our greatest strength. We were too primitive to be controlled, too chaotic to follow the path. And that's exactly what the universe needed." Around them, reality continued to change, as the gift of human chaos spread through the stars. 1 year after the dimensional barriers transformed, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. Gone were the perfect geometric patterns of crystal architecture. Now the walls flowed like water frozen in time, a blend of order and chaos that represented the new universe. Captain Reed stood at the speaker's podium, looking at faces both familiar and strange. The crystalline emperor sat nearby, his form now showing beautiful imperfections where reality had changed him. Representatives from 100 alien races filled the chamber, all changed by humanity's gift of chaos. 1 year ago, Reed began, you laughed at humanity. You called us primitive, unworthy of joining your advanced civilization. Today, I'm not here to say, I told you so. He smiled. I'm here to thank you. Confused murmurs filled the hall. Reed continued, your mockery pushed us to prove ourselves. Your rejection made us try harder. And in doing so, we didn't just change ourselves. We freed the universe from chains it didn't even know it wore. Dr. Anna Wells stepped forward, her presence now carrying a hint of dimensional energy, like all humans who had worked with the 7D drive. The transformation continues, she reported. As the old barriers become bridges, every species is discovering new potential. Technology that was locked into perfect patterns is evolving. Dreams that were suppressed by dimensional filters are awakening. On cue, Cooper activated a hologram showing the changes. Ships of new designs filled space, blending the precision of alien science with the creative chaos of human insight. On 1,000 worlds, new cities rose that were neither perfect nor random, but beautifully both. The ancient beings who built the barriers meant well, Anna explained. They feared chaos would destroy civilization, but they didn't understand that chaos and order need each other. Like day needs night, like art needs empty space, like music needs silence between notes. Lisa stepped up next, holding the latest sensor readings. We're detecting dimensional echoes from beyond known space. New races, evolving naturally without the barriers to guide them. The universe is coming alive in ways it hasn't been allowed to for millions of years. The crystalline emperor rose, his voice humbler than it had been a year ago. We owe humanity an apology, and a debt we can never repay. You showed us that perfection was a prison. Your primitive chaos was exactly what we needed. Reed shook his head. No apology needed. Instead, let's talk about the future. Earth has developed more ships with 7D drives. We're offering to share this technology, but with conditions. He gestured, and the hologram showed the Dimension Breaker, now the flagship of a growing fleet. These ships need human minds to work properly. We propose joint crews, humans working alongside your people, not to control the technology, but to teach how to dance with chaos, to find beauty in imperfection. The council chamber erupted in approval. Race after race pledged to join this new arrangement. Even the Crystalline Empire, once the greatest advocate of perfect order, was eager to learn humanity's way of seeing the universe. Later, on the Dimension Breaker's observation deck, Reed found Anna staring at the stars. Having doubts? He asked. No, she smiled. Just thinking about how far we've come. From being laughed at to teaching the galaxy a new way to live. And you know what's funny? We really were primitive, just like they said. We just didn't know that was exactly what the universe needed. Through the window, they watched ships of the new joint fleet practicing dimensional maneuvers, human chaos and alien precision working together, creating patterns that had never existed before. The ancient beings who built the barriers would be horrified, Reed mused. Or maybe, Anna suggested, this was their plan all along. Maybe they knew someone would need to break their perfect system eventually. Maybe they were waiting for a species too primitive to be controlled by it. The ship's drive hummed in harmony with her words, its song now echoed by hundreds of others throughout space. The song of a universe learning to dance again, led by the species that had been too primitive to follow the rules. Humanity's greatest weakness had become the galaxy's greatest gift. And somewhere in the higher dimensions, reality itself smiled at the beautiful chaos they had unleashed.